everyone, and welcome back to Research Minds. So in this session, we'll talk about MeSH and how you can use MeSH in PubMed to look for published papers. Okay, so let's talk about MeSH, M-E-S-H. So MeSH stands for Medical Subject Headings, and this is a term, or this is a classification system that's used by PubMed to put articles under different headings or categories so that it's easy for the database to file and access. And this is a tool that you can use to access published literature when doing a literature search or literature review when you are preparing to do your research. I will now go to PubMed and demonstrate how you can use MeSH to look for articles. And I will use two common examples, but the principle of using MeSH is the same, and you can use it in any of the any kind of research that you do by using specific keywords. Okay, so to get to the MeSH homepage, just simply type MeSH terms PubMed and it will appear on Google and go straight to the MeSH homepage. Okay, so when you click on the link, you will land on this page and you can type in your keywords here. If you cannot recall the exact keywords, that's okay. You can type the word that you are thinking about, and the library will show the appropriate MeSH headings. And then you can use the MeSH term for your search. Okay, so for our example, I will use a very common example that that's prevalent in PNG, and that's betel nut chewing. So let's say I'm doing a research on betel nut and I want to find out the link between betel nut and cardiovascular disease and death. So the first word that I want to look for is betel nut, and it appears here and it shows that betel nut has been categorized and it has a MeSH term. So lime pepper betel is the vine, but I want to look for betel nut. So I will click on betel nut, search. Now we are here and it's now showing the MeSH headings for betel nut. And here are the different subheadings. So here, betel nut has been categorized as under its scientific name. And these are the subheadings of MeSH, looking at adverse effects all the way down to genetics and physiology. So these are different subheadings under which the term betel nut has been categorized. Any publication that deals with any of these factors that is related to betel nut has been categorized. So instead of checking each box, I want to access all the published papers that talks about all the different aspects of betel nut. So I will now go over to this box where it says add to search builder, and you click on that. Now the PubMed algorithm has automatically put the syntax for you. So leave it as it is, and then I go in at the top to look for the next MeSH term. The next MeSH term that I want to look for is cardiovascular disease. So I type in cardiovascular diseases, and that's a whole list of terms appearing, different MeSH terms. I am specifically looking for cardiovascular diseases. It's here. Then I look for the MeSH term. Okay, after clicking on the cardiovascular disease MeSH term, I now have the result of all the different subheadings under cardiovascular diseases. What I want now is to access all the papers that are dealing with cardiovascular disease, and I don't want to click on specific subheadings. I want an umbrella search. So I click on the subheadings and I click add to search builder. What I'm doing now is that I want to combine the MeSH term ARECA with all the subheadings, and using the Boolean operator and combine with cardiovascular disease, the MeSH term, including all its subheadings, these ones. And finally, because I'm looking for death from cardiovascular diseases related to betel nut chewing, so I will type in the next MeSH term is, let's say, death. or deaths. And no, we are not looking for assisted deaths. We are looking for, okay, it's not showing. Maybe that's the wrong word. Let me try mortality. Okay, I think that's a better word. So now it's showing determinant, mortality, and I'm looking for maybe, okay, let's say I want to look for as a betel nut as a determinant. And here now I have mortality, and I've been given two MeSH headings. There's one with mortality. So this is a subheading, but what I want is the main MeSH term, so that this subheading is also captured under the main MeSH term. So I click on the main MeSH term, and it gives me all these different subheadings. So I want to look for all the subheadings that are included within mortality. Okay, I add to search builder. So now I have ARCA MeSH term and its subheadings. I have cardiovascular diseases and its MeSH term, and mortality MeSH term plus its subheadings. So, and I'm using the Boolean operator to look for all the articles using this MeSH term. And I click search PubMed, and it gives me 3 results. So from my search, I have found only 3 publications that deals with death from cardiovascular diseases related to betel nut chewing. The first one is a paper that looks at death in mice. The second one is a paper that looks at all-cause mortality in Taiwanese men, including cardiovascular diseases. So this is a large study. And the third study is betel nut chewing and mortality in an elderly cohort study. So 2 large publications and 1 lab-based study. So there is a room for research in this area. Betel nut is a very, very common habit in PNG and within the Asia Pacific region. So there is a large scope for betel nut research linking with cardiovascular diseases and mortality, because from our MeSH term we only found 3 papers. Okay, that was the first example. I will now repeat the process using a second example, also a common health problem in PNG, a major public health challenge, and that is tuberculosis. So we'll repeat the process. Okay, same thing, go to the MeSH homepage. Okay, here we are. This is the link to the MeSH homepage. And now we're here. I want to look for the MeSH term tuberculosis. So I search, and I am given a different list of MeSH terms with the subheadings and the multi-drug, central nervous system, vaccines. What I want is all publications and including subheadings to do with tuberculosis. So I click tuberculosis and I add to search builder. Now I have the MeSH term plus subheadings. Next term I want to look for is drug resistance. I'm interested in drug resistant TB. So there's antibacterial, antifungal, antimicrobial. So let me say antimicrobial, because antimicrobial will include antifungal and antibacterial. So I'll look for the MeSH term antimicrobial drug resistance. And after I click search, this is the result I have: drug effects, genetics, immunology. So these are all the subheadings, and PubMed has given me some suggestions what to look for. So all MeSH categories that deals with antimicrobial drug resistance. What I want is to include all the subheadings as well. So I'm going to add that to my search builder. Now I have tuberculosis MeSH terms with its subheadings, and drug resistance or microbial resistance, the main MeSH term with its subheadings. And I click search. Okay, so it has given me 8,000 plus results. That's a lot of papers, but still there's a bit of work to do. Now that I have 8,000 plus results, I want to focus on all the papers that have been published that deals with drug-resistant tuberculosis in PNG. And I already have the MeSH terms here that includes tuberculosis MeSH term with the subheadings and antimicrobial drug resistance plus the subheadings, because I have combined these two. So any paper that deals with TB and drug-resistant TB is included here. What I want to do now is to narrow it down to publications that deals with PNG. Okay, I come to this query box and I go straight to title and abstract, and I type in PNG and I add that to my query box. And I also want to look for full spelling, Papua New Guinea, and I use the Boolean operator OR. So I want to look for all the publications that has the word PNG or Papua New Guinea in the title and abstract, and I add that to the search history. And PubMed has now told me that there are 5,698 papers, 5,698 papers that has the word PNG or Papua New Guinea in the title and abstract. What I want to do next is I want to combine these results, MeSH, stem TB, and drug resistance, to PNG and Papua New Guinea in the title and abstract, so that my search now narrow the search down only to papers that are published on drug resistant TB in PNG. To do that, I come here, click on the three dots, and I click add to query, and the syntax appears here. And next I come to result number 3 and click on the three dots, and I use the Boolean operator AND. So I am now combining these two results, and I add to search history. With that result, I now have 15 papers that deals with drug resistant TB in PNG. So if I go there to those 15 papers, and I should have some really nice papers here, and here they are. These ones deal with evolution of drug resistant TB. Next one looks at TB in PNG from yesterday until today. So it talks out, I think the paper looks at the history and how TB has evolved. There's another one looks at drug-resistant TB from Medeng, and this one looks at drug-resistant TB from different parts of PNG. These are some genetic studies on TB from samples in PNG. So there's a good number of PNG-focused drug-resistant TB papers. There's another one yet evaluating the diagnostic accuracy of TB in children. This is number 10, and there's 15 more. Sorry, 5 more. And this is the result number 15. So I have 15 good papers that deals with drug-resistant TB in PNG. So we use the MeSH stem to look for all the publications that deals with TB using the MeSH stem. So it looks at every aspect of TB, all publications that are categorized under the MeSH stem TB plus antimicrobial resistance. And I combine with all the publications that deals with PNG or as the word PNG or Papua New Guinea in the title abstract. When I combine these two, I end up with 15 very good papers that deals with that specific topic I am looking for. So this is a very good technique. It's simple. It takes a bit of practice, but as you can see, it's easy to follow, to look for literatures in PubMed, and it will save you a lot of time trying to look for papers in Google Scholar. Without a process or without a strategy, you may get lost. So why not you try it? Let me know how you go in the comments, and give me a feedback on this video. If the video has helped you, please hit that like button and subscribe so that the channel can continue to grow and reach more students.